What is up, guys? MMA Mafia coming at you with another video. Today we're going to be doing the most overrated fighter in each division. Now, if you guys like the video, please leave a like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you guys want to see next, and we're going to get straight into the video. Coming in for the flyweight division, unfortunately, I'm going to have to put my boy Manel Kape. Even though Manel Kape is one of my favorite fighters, I'm going to have to put him for the flyweight division. He's been fighting one time a year since 2022, and he's coming off a loss against Muhammad Mokaev, which I know he got injured in that fight, but still it was a pretty disappointing performance. In his fight before that against Dos Santos, it was a close fight. He clearly won the fight, but it was a little closer than it should have been. I think he has a lot of potential. I think his inactivity is really hindering his performances, and I think if he was active and he got the ball rolling, got some momentum, and got some wins together, I think he would be in the top 5 right now, but it's pretty disappointing to see how inactive he's been and his performances lately. But I think he has massive star potential, especially in the flyweight division where there's not really a lot of personality down there and it's not really a hype division. But he has a lot of fans. Everyone remembers the press conference moment with Izzy. So I think he'd be great for the flyweight division if he just stayed active and he can get some fights going. So Manel Kape is going to be the most overrated fighter in the flyweight division. Now, coming in for bantamweight, I have Cory Sandhagen. Now, I like Cory too, but his boxing is very questionable. I don't think it doesn't make his striking as well-rounded as it can be. He doesn't have any power in his hands. He can't put together any good combos with his hands. Now, even though he defended the takedowns pretty well against Umar, the takedown threat was really what was bothering Cory in that fight. He was really hesitant on the feet, and he couldn't really get going, especially in the later rounds where he needed to start getting going, taking rounds away from Umar. He was just on the outside, just switching stances, wasn't really even throwing too much on the feet. It was a pretty disappointing performance, in my opinion, from Cory. And there's not really going to be any easier matchups out there for Cory right now, especially in the top 5. There's a lot of great guys in the bantamweight division. People are talking about how they want to see him versus Sean. I think Sean takes him out pretty easily, to be honest. I don't think that's a really good fight for Cory. And people are saying he should fight Henry Cejudo to fight, and the winner would fight Sean O'Malley. That's a decent fight for him, but it's the same thing. I don't know what the takedown threat would do for him if he's going to be hesitant on the feet again, not throwing too much. But I think Cejudo is a little easier matchup for him than Umar. So we'll just have to see if that fight goes down. I'd probably pick Cory, but it's a close fight. I just think Cejudo's pretty washed now, though. He shouldn't have wasted those prime years that he had just retiring because he wasn't getting the money he wanted. But Cory Sandhagen doesn't really have a lot of finishing potential either. The only times we've ever seen him finish a top guy was with a knee and a kick. He hasn't really dropped anyone with punches or finished anyone with punches. And he hasn't gotten a finish in a long time. Last time he did was against Song Yadong, but that was just because of the cut that Song got in that fight. But Cory really doesn't have a lot of power, doesn't really have a lot of finishing potential. I think a lot of people overall overrate him. I think the Petr Yan fight really showed a lot of holes in his striking as well, in the boxing, like I was saying. And I think it would probably go even worse or the same way if he fought O'Malley. And there's a lot of other fights I think are pretty hard for him, pretty questionable. Like, I don't think that he would beat Merab. I think Merab would just hold him against a fence, fucking sniff his nuts. And that's pretty much every Merab performance. And I think Jose Aldo is a pretty tough opponent for him. Jose Aldo at bantamweight looks pretty durable. Hasn't really got hurt too bad in any of his fights. And I think that the low kicks would really work well against Sandhagen. But Cory Sandhagen is going to be the most overrated fighter in the bantamweight division right now. Now, coming in for the featherweight division, I have Movsar Evloev. This guy is so fucking boring. I'm not going to lie to you. This guy is so boring. This guy could not finish a person with no arms and no legs. This guy has been in the UFC for 5 years and he still hasn't had a finish yet. I think that his last fight against Arnold Allen clearly won that fight, to be honest. That bullshit with the fucking knee on the ground. He was literally his hand was coming off the ground every time that Arnold Allen would throw a knee. I think if Diego Lopez didn't come in on short notice and he had time to prepare for that fight, I think Diego Lopez would have fucking destroyed him. I think right now, if they fought, especially now that Diego Lopez has had a couple fights, He's getting better. I think Diego Lopez would easily beat Mavzar. He's really not all that. And he pretty much just fights one time a year. So if this guy ever becomes champion, the fucking featherweight division is cooked. One time a year, we're getting a title fight. And he's just going to be holding up against the fence, fucking trying to take him down, fucking sniff their nuts the whole time. Not doing anything on the ground for a finish. Can't finish a fucking fly. So hopefully someone stiffens this dude out. Aljamain Sterling is out of the fight against Evloev. I think that someone said that Gene Silva might take the fight. I'd love to see Gene Silva get in there. Fighting nerds. We love the fighting nerds over here. Big Kyle Braho fan. Big Ruffy fan. We're a big fan of fucking Gene Silva too. Hopefully Gene Silva gets that fight. I want to see him fucking knock Mavzar out cold. Leave him on the canvas. I think that's a great fight for Silva. But we'll have to see what happens with that fight. It's coming up at UFC 307, so they're going to have to put an opponent in for him quickly. Hopefully it's Gene Silva, but Mavzar Evloev, inbred, is going to be for the featherweight division. Now coming in for the lightweight division, we have Matias Gamrot, Polish Magneto, taking out fucking Fiziev's knee with his telekinesis. The lightweight division, I don't think there's really like too many people that are like overrated. It was kind of hard picking someone, but I had to pick Matias Gamrot. His striking defense, particularly his boxing defense, is pretty sketchy. He was getting pieced up by Dan Hooker in the last fight, and he gets cracked a lot in his fights. He got wobbled by Jalen Turner really badly. Wobbled a couple times in the Hooker fight. He got cracked in the Beneil Dariush fight. And that Dariush loss is it's aging pretty badly right now, as Dariush is on a pretty bad skid. But he had the split decision against Jalen Turner. That fight could have gone either way, in my opinion. It was a really close fight. His wrestling is great, but his stand-up is not that great at all. His punches don't really have a lot of sting on them, so when someone's pressuring him, he really doesn't have anything to back them up with. And Dan Hooker was coming forward the whole fight against Gamrot, and he was throwing heavy shots against Dan Hooker and cracking him, but he just kept coming forward. He took all those shots. That might be just on Hooker's chin, but in Gamrot's fight, we haven't really seen him crack anyone that too hard or knock someone down or anything like that. His striking is pretty basic, pretty one-dimensional. He has decent body kicks, but that's pretty much it. Like I said, I don't really think anyone's too overrated in the lightweight division, so I'm just going to have to pick Gamrot, and he's going to be the most overrated fighter in the lightweight division. Now, coming in for the welterweight division, I have Leon Edwards. Thank God we don't have to hear that headshot dead anymore. He was saying headshot dead going in against Colby. Couldn't even take Colby out when he wasn't doing fucking shit. Now, even though the head kick against Usman was one of the best moments in the sport, one of the greatest moments in UFC history, I think it did a decent amount of bad for the division. Even though Kamaru was getting older, it was going to happen either way one of these days. But Leon Edwards becoming champion, it just kind of made the division really boring. Usman was really active, and he was starting to get a couple more finishes, even though Usman was pretty boring in the beginning of his title reign and before, but his fights were decently entertaining. But then we had Izzy 2.0, leg kicking at range. You know, wasn't really the most entertaining fights against Muhammad and Colby Covington. I think Leon Edwards is slightly overrated. I think he could have done more in the Colby Covington fight, and the Muhammad performance was pretty disappointing. Especially we thought his takedown defense would be enough to stop the takedowns from Bilal Muhammad, and he was just getting held down each round. Of course, Bilal Muhammad is holding him down the whole time, not going for any finishes at all. Can't get a finish to save his fucking life. Overall, his fights are pretty lackluster. He's kind of just like an Izzy 2.0, leg kicking at range, barely doing anything, just slightly outstriking his opponent. And I also think that Nate Diaz, when he got rocked by Nate Diaz, it's kind of embarrassing just getting rocked by old vegan Nate Diaz. And he's also one of the one fight a year kind of guys too, which is just bad for the welterweight division. But hopefully someone takes out Bilal Muhammad next, so we don't have to sit here and watch him fucking sniff nuts every fight and just hold people down, not finishing anyone. Most boring shit in the fucking sport right now. But Leon Edwards is going to be the most overrated fighter in the welterweight division. Coming in for the middleweight division, as you've seen, I just shown off leg kick at range junior. Now we got leg kick at range senior. Here we go. Israel Adesanya, the most overrated fighter at middleweight. Obviously, as we've seen, his last couple of performances have just been terrible. I think he's been the same Adesanya. He's not regressing at all. I don't think it's because of his age or anything, or he's getting worse. I think people are figuring him out, and I think he's just not fighting bums anymore, like fucking Marvin Vettori. As we've seen now, the middleweight division is just getting better and better now. It wasn't really in a great place a couple years ago when Izzy was reigning. There's only really great performance, I'd say, was against Robert Whittaker. And the Paulo Costa one was a pretty good performance, but Paulo Costa, as we've seen in the last couple of months, he's not really one of the top middleweights in the division. But he got beat with a teep and a jab from Sean Strickland, which is crazy for one of the best strikers in the UFC, these casual Izzy fans. But Dricus' performance, he looked a little bit better in this fight against Dricus. Wasn't enough, though. Dricus just ran right through him. It was pretty embarrassing when he tried to do the max thing, point at the ground, and then he just fucking got choked out 5 seconds later. It was pretty hilarious. But leg kick at range senior just pretty much just got away with doing the least in these fights against the scrubs at middleweight the past couple of years. Now there's some good middleweights coming up. He's getting exposed, and we're seeing how his striking game has big holes in it. And also, we really haven't seen any finishes from him in the last couple of years, except for the Pereira finish, obviously. But that was just pretty much weight drain Pereira coming down as unnatural weight class at 185. But he hasn't finished anything in the past couple of years except for his dog. Hopefully next he fights Caio Braujo. Fighting nerds are coming up. But hopefully Caio Braujo gets this fight and destroys Israel Adesanya. I think he has a great chance in that fight. But Israel Adesanya is going to be the most overrated fighter in the middleweight division. Now, coming in for the most overrated fighter in the light heavyweight division, I have Magomed Ankalaev. Now, a lot of people are calling for Magomed to get the title shot right now. I don't think he should get that off of beating Johnny Walker. His last few fights were Johnny Walker, Anthony Smith, and Thiago Santos. Thiago Santos isn't in the UFC anymore. Anthony Smith is fucking dog shit. Are we really going to give him a title shot after beating Anthony Smith and Johnny Walker? Now, a lot of people are calling this Alex Pereira's kryptonite at 205. I don't think so. He's not really a wrestler. Yeah, he's from Dagestan. He does have a little wrestling, but he's not primarily a striker. And I think we've seen things in the Jan Blachowicz fight, like Jan Blachowicz ripping apart his fucking legs. Just fucking nonstop leg kicks. He had no leg kick defense in that fight. And Jan just took advantage of that, and it didn't look pretty good for him in that department. But I don't think he'll be too much of a problem for Alex Pereira. People are overrating him. He's not. I don't think he'll be able to finish Alex Pereira on the ground if he took him down. And I think on the feet, where the fight's probably going to be most of the time, I think Alex Pereira easily just outstrikes him. I think he could TKO him, probably in the late third or maybe the late second. But next fight, we'll really get to see where he's at, because he'll be facing Alexander Rakic, who's not Alex Pereira, but he's a kickboxer, and we'll see if Magomed's leg kick defense got any better from the Blachowicz fight, and we'll see where he's at in the striking. Maybe he'll show off some grappling, but we're going to have to just wait and see for that fight. It's coming up shortly in October, so we'll see after that where he stands. But Magomed Ankalaev is going to be the most overrated fighter in the light heavyweight division. Coming in, last but not least, for the heavyweight division, we have Jon Jones. I'm going to pile on this man every opportunity I get. Ducking Tom Aspinall. People are overrating him so much lately. Like, did we not all watch the Dominic Reyes performance and see what he's been doing in the last couple of years? Obviously, he's one of the greatest of all time, but nowadays, people are overrating him so much, saying he'll just run right through Tom Aspinall. No, the fuck he won't. He won't even fight him. He knows what would happen if he stepped in the octagon with Tom Aspinall. And I also just don't think this is the same Jon Jones from earlier in his career. Obviously, he's older now. He's coming off an injury from his the pectoral injury, and I don't think he's going to be getting much better after that. I think the Gon fight was just a pretty easy layup for him. I think a lot of just the casual fans and just the fans that are just recently joined the MMA community recently are just saying Jon Jones will finish him in the first round. Jon Jones will run right through him. Jon Jones hasn't had a finish since 2018. What are you talking about? What are we actually talking about here? But that's going to be it, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like, subscribe, share the video. Let me know what you guys want to see next, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.